Hi everyone, Lauren Stamper here with Highlands Residential Mortgage. I'm a senior loan officer and my passion is educating and empowering folks in the home purchase and refinance process. And today I have with me Troy Olson with Keller Williams. He is a very experienced realtor that I love working with. His attention to detail, his acumen and knowledge about real estate, not just from an agent perspective, but also from an investor perspective, is par none. And with that, thanks for being here today. I'd love for you to tell us, just to get started, a little bit about your experience so that they know who they're hearing from.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you for having me here. So it's always an honor and privilege when I get to sit down and talk to you and obviously the audience as well. So yeah, this is year 20 for
Oh my
me in
gosh.
residential real estate here in Texas. It's gone really fast. Live in Frisco and cover most of the metroplex. Most of our business is in the north. So 20 years of residential sales. I've been a real estate investor for this is my 10th year. So a combination of flipping homes, a combination of single-family rental homes, some oil and gas investment, along with some joint venture opportunities that I have. So it's just one of those where I'm a real estate junkie and I'm a deal person, and I love being out in the action every day, all day.
Yeah, you eat, breathe, and sleep it more than most. And one of the cool things about Troy is because he invests personally, not only are you good at helping match homes with people's needs, but also when people are trying to take that step into investing to have doors, to have rental properties, the way that you assess those types of properties is different than how you're assessing properties for people that are trying to homestead a property. So I think that that's a really unique skill set that not that many agents in our area have. So it brings a whole lot of value to our clients, which I love.
Well, and I'm going to put your money where your mouth is. And I'm not going to ask you to walk through fire if I'm not willing to walk through it myself.
Hmm.
And I have a lot of corporate relocation clients, high earning W-2 income, and they'll come and say, well, what should I do? And, people do business with, who they know, like, and trust. And then when they see myself doing it, it gives credibility that, okay, if they are buying there, then maybe I need to look there. So I've done many, many tours, show and tell up in Sherman, Texas, where I own all my rental properties.
Hmm.
And it seems like, once or twice a month, I have a new client with me riding along, and I get to show them firsthand in person what goes on.
I love too about that the fact that they can learn by mistakes you've had
Yeah.
to go through yourself. They don't have to go through the same things you have. You've already learned from them, and you can help them pivot without having to go through it themselves. So kind of piggybacking off of that, let's talk just market dynamics right now. What are you seeing boots on the ground for people that are trying to buy and or sell property right now?
Yeah, from a buyer's perspective, they certainly have, a lot of options to choose from. I had a corporate relocation buyer from Florida in town last weekend. Between Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Saturday was second showings, but it's still a showing.
Hmm.
I hit 37 houses, and I never
Oh
left
my
the city.
gosh.
I never left the city of Frisco.
Unbelievable.
So there's a lot of
That's a lot
options
of
out there,
inventory. Hmm.
and as far as sellers, sellers are frustrated. Obviously, in the last few years, we've lived in a completely different market. During COVID
Right.
and lower interest rates, where your house was usually gone, in a day or two, or sometimes hours. And now homes are sitting a lot longer,
Hmm.
and they have to be more patient. And we have to make sure that we are educating our sellers on today's market, which is completely different, I feel, than it was just 4 to 5 months ago.
Yeah, it's evolving quickly, and I agree. It's changing throughout the year, not just on an annual basis. And I think that one thing that a lot of sellers don't think about, so when they're getting frustrated with their home sitting longer, you buy and sell in the same market. So if they're suffering at all mentally on the sale of their home, they're also going to benefit as a buyer when they've got a buyer on their home. So I think that's an important thing that people realize is, yeah, it's hard for you as a seller, but it's going to be great for you as a buyer. So you kind of have to weigh both those at the same time and not just consider the selling in a silo.
Yeah, and you have to be doing them at the same time. The challenge we're facing is the sellers who bought the home, in 2022 or 2023, where they had to go over list price in
Mm.
order to get the home, and now on their way out, like they feel like they got their butt kicked, when they bought the home, and now they're in the business of wanting to kick somebody's butt. And it's just completely different
Yeah.
where, again, the days on the market is higher. I ran comps for a past client in Allen literally last night, and I went back 6 months. And when you look at the sold data, the 3 homes that sold in April and May,
Hmm.
the days on the market was single digits versus what sold in the last 90 days. It was triple digits. So
Interesting.
that's how quickly, like I tell people the story. We had 3 listings on the market Mother's Day weekend, and
Hmm.
Mother's Day weekend is usually slower. It
Right.
just, in 20 years, I can point to
That's a
that
trend.
weekend and go,
Yes.
that's a trend where it's just slower. And I'm not saying like, oh, nobody cares about Father's Day, but like in June, things are busier.
Right.
And just looking at those 3 listings, all were 70 plus days on the market. They all 3 contracted, which was good. But then, like right after that, I feel like the water spigot
Hmm.
has been turned off. And to be completely honest and vulnerable, our last 6 listings, one of them contracted, 2 of them expired, and 3 of them were on the market for sale and for lease.
Hmm.
They leased out, and we're talking
Interesting.
325, 670, and 1.7 million.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's
So
what
it's
I
not specific
it's
to a
not
certain
specific,
price
and
range.
what I tell sellers, this is not specific to your home.
Hmm.
It's not specific to your street. It's not specific to your subdivision. It's not even specific to your city.
Hmm.
Like across the board, these were in 3 different counties.
Wow.
In hey, we'll try to sell it and we'll try to lease it, and whatever happens first, we're going to take. Versus they were all vacant homes too.
Hmm.
So you kind of take what you can get
Right.
first. So that's a snapshot of kind of what we've seen the last 5 months.
As another trend, just as we're trying to kind of learn our way in this new market, do you feel like um, homes that are completely move-in ready, like sellers have maintained everything and updated colors as color palettes have updated, do you feel like those are moving faster, even if they're at a little higher price than a comparable home that has not been updated cosmetically at a little lower price?
Absolutely. As a real estate investor who remodels homes to flip and remodels homes to keep as rentals, everything costs more money than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to be so airtight with your budget. And there are homes that I have going on right now where we've blown the budget like by
Mm-hmm.
30 grand, and it's the
Oof.
cost of doing business. So the relocation buyer that was in town this last weekend, they had spent a couple $100,000 on their house in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and we're talking mid eights. And I know it's Florida, not here, but I'll get to the bottom line. Is they sold it within a couple hours, had to do a last minute trip in to find a home because they had to be out of their home October 21st. They ended up contracting on a 20-year-old resale home in Frisco that now the seller said $200,000 in upgrades. They did a incredible job on this remodel, and we're in the mid nines, just to give you an
Mm-hmm.
idea of the price point. But yes, they took a 20-year-old Highland home and they completely updated it from the cabinets and the flooring and the paint and the fixtures and everything.
Yeah.
And guess what? It was on the market only a month. So yeah, people sometimes think they want a project, but when you buy something older and then you have to remodel it, that's all cash out of pocket after
Right.
the fact.
What I'm seeing, kind of piggybacking on that, what I'm seeing is people are wanting, like when they're planning their search, they want things that are ready to just put in their furniture and start living because a lot of people are cash strapped in our
Yep.
current economy. So to them, anything they have to do on the property, whether it's maintenance for, structural integrity or HVAC or plumbing, like they don't want any of that. They want to make sure everything has been updated recently and ideally colors that are updated so that they don't have to take on those added expenses. But what I've been trying to help, because there is a lot of inventory, but not a lot of the inventory is updated.
Yep.
There's a ton of inventory that needs some love. And so, what I've been trying to remind people is we have renovation loans that are meant specifically for that type of project where find a home, get a great deal on it, negotiate a great deal in a phenomenal neighborhood, and then let's roll in the cost of updating it and making it exactly what you want it to look like. I think a lot of people either don't know or forget that they can finance that as part of their mortgage. They don't have to go and figure out the financing after the fact.
Well, and that comes down to education,
Hmm.
having a conversation. I was thinking about this on the way in. We're in the middle of 8 buyer closings in a row
Oh
over
my
the course
gosh.
of couple, and
Congrats.
half of those bought new construction. So
For this
obviously,
same reason,
for
right?
the same reason that everything is brand new, we'll talk about the interest rates of new construction here in a little bit.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was for new construction, one completely remodeled house, and the other ones is they're going to do some work. In fact, one of my contractors was at the house last night because they closed yesterday. And they want to do all new countertops and they want to stain, the cabinets and they're going to make some
Hmm.
modifications. So yeah, a large majority of my buyers are new construction buyers.
So is it fair for people that have a home to sell to say, sellers, it is reasonable to consider at least putting some money into your home to bring the colors current, not necessarily because you're going to get more money for the house, but just so it doesn't sit as long. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, you have to know your competition. So
Hmm.
again, if you are in the outskirts and you're competing against new construction, I give them the example of, used cars are expensive and they're maintaining their value if they're in good shape. And I'm in the process right now of looking for, an SUV. The one that I had a lot of miles on it, and I sold it before I had to start putting money into it. But,
Hmm.
do I go spend $52,000 for a used Tahoe with 45 to 50,000 miles, or do I go up buy a brand new one for 65? And you start thinking about all the warranties and like it's brand new
Right.
and I'm going to get a lower interest rate on it. Same thing with houses. It's like, okay, for a little bit more money and a considerably lower interest rate, they can go get new construction. So now, if you are in the middle of Plano, there's not new construction in the
Hmm.
middle of Plano. We're talking, on the outskirts. So, we have to educate our sellers on the competition. It's not just about the sold comps and the data. Let's go look at the active listings and go, those are in your direct, crosshairs as competition.
That is a great point. I think when people are planning their listing strategy, they are focused about their neighborhood and what their neighbors are listing for. And they're not thinking about zooming out just a little bit to notice that most areas do have some component of new
Hmm.
construction going on. And you are competing with them because the interest rate promos and closing cost promos are huge financially, but two, people know that it's low maintenance and low cost to start new because everything is brand new, and three, they're current trends. So if sellers can like have a little bit of a mind shift that they're gonna need to spend a little bit of money to bring their property up to snuff, and it's sunk cost, but it gets them their closing much quicker.
Well, and I think too sometimes we get excited about looking at pictures, but we don't get into the bones of the property. Again,
Hmm.
assuming that the foundation is good. How old are the windows? How old is the hot water heater?
Hmm.
How old are the HVAC units? I mean, I live in a 3,000 square foot property that was built in 2003, 2004. I replaced the hot water heaters when I moved in 11 years ago. The HVAC units have been replaced, but the windows have not.
Hmm.
And I know that that is a $20,000 bill if and when the time comes that I choose to do them. And
Sure.
again, you start talking about energy efficiency and you start talking about lower electric bills. So again, there's a lot of mechanical components into an older home versus a newer home.
So, what do you think, just in terms of speed of getting a buyer, what do you think is the most beneficial spend a seller can make? Is it cosmetic or is it structural? Where should they spend their money if they're willing to spend a little to move the house quicker?
Yeah, I mean, you get your money back when we call the wet areas. The
Okay.
kitchen is the most pivotal point, pivotal room in the house because
Hmm.
again, it's the
It's the
most
hub.
it's the hub and it's the
Hmm.
most expensive, room in the house. If you have a guest bedroom, it's flooring and paint.
Right.
Yes, there's a window in there. Yes, there's a ceiling fan in there. But when you look at a kitchen, you bring in the appliance factor and the countertop factor and the cabinet factor and just the backsplash and just the hardware and the plumbing and how big is the pantry and there's double oven. I mean,
Hmm.
again, I'm thinking back to the buyer we closed with yesterday. They want to go double oven. They have 6 kids. They want to
Oh
reorganize,
my
the
gosh.
pantry. They don't like the countertops. It's 2 levels versus, one flat
Hmm.
level. The cabinets were painted on the outside, but they're not painted on the inside. And they want a fresh white lighting in the kitchen, adding can lights, adding pendant lights. Yes, the kitchen is the hub and it's the most expensive room in the house. So again, depending on your budget as a seller,
Hmm.
that's the room you want to start with.
Awesome. That's super helpful. Do you see first-time buyers making any mistakes or things that you would have told them to do differently had they asked you before they just started doing
Yeah, I
things?
mean, so this question is important. Whether you are a real estate agent who does or does not work with first-time home buyers, there are a lot of first-time home buyers, out there. You know the statistics more because
Mhm.
obviously you see the loan apps, but it's one of those where, again, I point to education is, are you mentally and are you financially ready to own a home? Because if
Mhm.
you are coming in to purchasing a home from either an apartment or from a rental home, and again, I own rental properties and I understand like it's my job when something breaks to fix it.
Mhm.
So if you are used to the whole like, oh, the landlord will take care of that or the property manager will take care of that, now all of a sudden it's on you. I had the privilege or the hassle, whatever way you want to look at this, of being on an HOA board many, many years ago. And I'll be honest, it was the worst 90 minutes of my month, not because of the time commitment that it took, because of the complaining that I saw
Mm.
from the homeowners who would come to the meetings and complain. And I'm thinking, wow, there are 300 homes in this HOA. I must have the nicest and the best home of any of them because I don't have these problems. it it's a responsibility. You have
Right.
to be a big boy and a big girl if you want to own a property, and it comes with responsibility. So when I say, are you mentally
Mhm.
prepared to do that? Financially is only, one aspect of the equation. Are you mentally prepared and responsible enough to own a home?
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think a lot of people think that way. Um, do you feel like buyers are more focused on their payment affordability, their location, or long-term appreciation in today's market?
I think right now it's tunnel vision. It's payment, payment, payment. Like we'll deal with the drive. Okay, the drive comes with time, gas, tolls, all the equations. So like they're just so specific on payment.
I agree. Actually, I've so from my seat, what I see a lot of, it used to be a seesaw where either a couple or an individual was payment sensitive or they were cash sensitive. In the last year and a half, it's been both. So it's very challenging putting together strategies in the price range they want to shop for that meets both the payment and the cash budget. So getting really creative on how we structure things has been honestly it probably takes me almost twice as long to put together strategy and consultation for people as it used to because I'm having to present them multiple different ideas that work, but that way they can almost shop from a buffet of options on like what best meets your budget because it's a moving target and nobody wants to spend the cash they have and nobody wants a high payment because they're nervous.
Well, and again, for the real estate agents out there that are watching, I've said this privately, I've said this publicly. You're the best of the best at what you do. And I have the advantage of they don't get in my car until they've gone through somebody like you. So you help make my job easier because we know exactly where, like, we might have a search portal built of,
Hmm.
oh, 425 because they think that we can negotiate down to 400. What is your, I always say, like, where do you have heartburn? Like, what's your pain threshold? But again,
Smart.
you have the ability to give them options before we even go out, which makes, my job easier.
You know what's wild is I end up being the second lender that people talk to a lot because a lot of people will, get a pre-qual online or through wherever they
The
bank,
bank.
and then they'll go house shopping because they're told what they're pre-qualified for. And then a lot of times their realtor will refer a lender that they enjoy working with and trust. And so when I come in second and I'm asking before I ever start running numbers, I want to know somebody's budget.
Yep.
What are you comfortable paying monthly? What price range of homes are you hoping to shop for? And how much cash can you part with to do it? And with those data points, I can figure out quickly, like qualifying is not that hard. Frankly, in most situations, they give you enough rope to do damage. And nobody needs that. Nobody wants to feel house poor. And that's not the goal. So what I try to do is back into strategies that best align with what they're comfortable with. And sometimes there's a complete mismatch. But if a lender is not counseling somebody before they go look at homes, there's a lot of heartburn because what people want in a house versus what they're comfortable paying does not always match up. And just because you qualify for it doesn't mean you can stomach the bill.
Yeah, I mean, we have a gentleman coming in Friday from Yuma that you talked
Hmm.
to, and the question was like, "Am I ready to do this?" And I mean, I had a discussion with him before,
Mhm.
I introduced him to you, but just knowing the facts and the figures before, you get out in the field.
Hugely important. Yeah, it sets you up for success because then the expectation's set. You're not having to do an expectation resetting, which is when people walk away not feeling as good about the situation. So, empowering people with education up front is the only way that we like doing
I
business.
agree.
Let's talk about the negotiation dynamics right now. How much negotiating power do you feel like buyers really have? Because we hear loosely the term it's a buyer's market
Right.
right now, and I totally agree. And some, especially first time buyers, are like, "How could you say that? Because rates are so high, everything's so expensive." But can you just talk to what you're seeing boots on the ground in terms of negotiating deals?
Yeah, so again, when it comes time to where we find a house that they like and they are considering an offer, everybody talks about let's just run comps and see what the comps look, and nobody really ever talks about what's the list price to sell price ratio. And
Mm-hmm.
now that might be a term that some people had never heard. If I list your home for $100,000 and it sells for 97,300, that house yielded 97.3% of the last list
Mm-hmm.
price. Not where did they start, where did they end, and then where did they contract. So again, setting the expectation of, oh, well, if it's a $100,000 house, let's just offer them 65. Okay, would you sell your house 65 cents on the dollar? No. So again, it's practical. And again, everybody wants a deal.
Right.
And again, depending on when they bought the property, it's like, oh, I had to pay 103% of list price when I bought the home. Now I want to do that to somebody
Right.
else. We live in a different world than we did in 2022. So again, it's facts and figures. You also have to, fish for the pain point. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what's the situation? A vacant home is a sign, of
Seller's
motivation.
gotta, yeah, get rid
Yes.
of it.
Again, sometimes when you go into a property and it's like, oh, the dining room table's gone, the kitchen table's there, and like there are no bedrooms, in the guest bedrooms,
Mm-hmm.
and there's only one set of clothes in the primary, bedroom closet. You start to go, okay, you are speculating that this might be a divorce situation because
Right.
there's two names on the tax record. That's a motivating factor. So again, ask questions. I like to think that I have the ability to get people to tell me stuff that they're not supposed to tell me. That's what a
Yes.
good negotiator does, right?
Right.
So again, look for motivating factors and find out what's important to the seller, what's the situation, what goes on here. But like, oh, how many, you've been on the market X number of days. How many showings have you had?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to play into our hands.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So I really enjoy too when you are preparing to make an offer for somebody and they come back to me and say, "Hey, here's what we're thinking of offering. What would that look like if we execute?" So I can run the numbers, and then also if there's a with the same general framework, if there's a way to get them closer to the payment or closer to the cash to close, if we tweaked something about it, like having that conversation and that teamwork is incredible for the client because they have a voice, they have a choice in what they're doing and how they're presenting offers that can be contractually obligating them to buy a home. So the numbers piece, I think, especially with people being so sensitive on both payment and cash, is like you've got to have the right team in place that's willing to take the time to go through those measures of showing you what it could look like, options A, B, and C.
Yeah, I mean, this is the most expensive asset they will ever buy or sell. That's why you have to be the utmost professional and put yourself in their shoes and treat it like what would you do if this was
hmm
your own deal?
Switching gears a little bit because you are a flipper. You take distressed properties, you completely update them, fix things that might have been deferred maintenance in the process, and then sell. Um, what are you looking for? Because there's a lot of those types of
Hmm.
properties around, especially in the older neighborhoods. I'm thinking like Richardson, Garland. It's a popular thing. I think HGTV made everybody think that they could be a fixer upper of sorts. What do you look for in other people's flipped properties for your homeowners that are going to reside in it as a primary residence that other agents might not have the eye for?
Yeah, you're looking at the quality of flooring. Again, what is the price point? You always you dress for the client. Like
Mm,
there's a reason if you go to a funeral, you're dressed for a funeral, and if you're going to a rodeo, you're dressed for a rodeo. What price point are we in?
hmm
What is the flooring? What's the cabinet? Don't put a level 1 countertop, where you should be putting a level 4 countertop.
Sure.
The fixtures, again, you can see, and I'm very retail critical when I go into a house that's been remodeled because I do it
You know.
myself. And then again, is this a flip, or should this have been a rental? Because what tier
Hmm.
of product are you using? You can tell when somebody it was a do-it-yourselfer, or if they had a professional, tile person. Again, did they update the electrical panel? Like, did they actually fill out a seller's disclosure?
Hmm.
Things like that.
That's great input. I'm totally jumping around because my head is bouncing with so many things I want to ask you. If somebody is looking for a home that's like a 3 to 5 year home,
Mhm.
they're newly married, they haven't had kids yet, they're looking for something small to get started, and they're probably going to move and get something bigger when they have kids. Do you feel like new construction is a good path for that, or do you think pre-existing is better? And let me kind of frame why I'm asking that. I feel like I've seen a lot of people who have purchased in the most recent few years that are already trying to make a move and bought new construction, that there's new construction still going on around them now as builders, buy additional phases to build out, and it can be more challenging to offload competitively. So, what are you seeing, and do you have a specific recommendation for people that are looking for a 3 to 5 year home?
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. Is this a master plan community, or is this a pocket boutique subdivision with X number of houses along the outskirts? Again, as land continues to get purchased,
Hmm.
I saw something on LinkedIn where I might be getting the name of this, but there's a new like 4,000 acre subdivision coming in Salina.
Oh,
I think
wow.
it's called Rambler, or something like
Okay.
that. And you think about Mustang Lakes, Light Farms, Windsong Ranch. These are master plan communities with
Hmm.
3,000 plus
They're
homes in it.
huge.
And again, I understand life happens and things change where, we thought this was going to be our forever home. You do not want to compete with a builder in new construction. Again, you can't compete with the interest rate. The builder can take a $20,000 hit on one home a whole lot easier than we can. So
Right.
it's going to depend on your location of work. Now, if you work from home, you're okay maybe living further out. But if you work in the city, maybe you want to live closer in.
Hmm.
You won't be competing with new construction, if you live, closer in. So also, some cities the dirt costs more money. I remember when clients were coming here back in 15 and 16. It's like, well, why are homes $100,000 cheaper across 380 in Prosper than they are in Frisco? The dirt was less expensive.
Hmm.
And now it's like, well, the further out you go, the less expensive the dirt is. So again, like there's a lot of forecasting out there, but the growth is continuing to go to the north and ride it to the north. So again, buy a home and hopefully the commitment can be to stay in it long enough to get some
Hmm.
appreciation so you're not underwater when you have to sell it and then upsize.
Awesome. Super good insights. All right. I'm going to let you grill me
Yeah.
with a few questions too.
So let's talk about affordability and qualification. I know that you talked about this on an earlier question about people are cash strapped. They have a lot of if you're cash strapped and you have high credit card debt. That's affecting your credit score. So, I mean, again, talk to me about how buyers are adjusting with the higher payments, just based on how things are more expensive now than they were, a few years ago.
It is a process. I feel like, in the past, people have come pretty ready to hit the ground running. And now I get a lot of, hey, I'm planning for a purchase maybe in 2026. Like they don't want to commit. They're nervous to commit to anything. And so I love trying to show them ways to make it affordable today so they understand this is feasible. You have the choice to buy today, and you'll probably get a much better deal if we rip the band-aid off and do it today, because you do have negotiating power as a buyer. Whether you're buying new construction or you're buying a pre-existing home, you are in the power seat for sure as a buyer right now. So what I'm doing to try to make it more affordable is leverage all the tools in my toolbox, whether that's down payment assistance programs, which I have 5 of. So there isn't a down payment assistance program that won't work for somebody. If your income's high, I got one. Credit low, I've got one. So there's something for everybody if we need that. And then on the payment side, getting really strategic on how we put together payments. Are we doing a temporary rate buy down so that they have an intro rate that's below market? Or are we negotiating seller credits for a permanent rate buy down so they've got that stability if they're completely risk adverse? So I'm having to put things together. And what's cool is, because I talked about people are payment and cash sensitive right now, one of the down payment assistance programs allows for a temporary rate buy down on top of it. so you can get the benefit of payment relief and cash relief at your time of purchase, which is revolutionary. It makes a huge difference for first-time buyers specifically who don't have a lot of money saved up and are very nervous to increase their housing expense.
So speaking of not having a lot of money saved up, what is the misconception about how much money I need for a down payment if I believe I'm ready to go buy a home?
Great question. It is shocking to me still how many people think that you need 20% down to buy a home. Whether they think you need it or their parents have told them they need it so that they can avoid the scary mortgage insurance. It blows my mind. So on an FHA loan, which is the most common first-time buyer loan platform, just because it's the most forgiving, you can have lower credit, you can have higher debts. The down payment is 3.5% of the sales price.
Okay.
On a conventional loan, if you're a first-time buyer or a lower income buyer, 3% down is the minimum. The standard normal conventional minimum down that most people do is 5%. But what's interesting about mortgage insurance, and I think that people are really scared of it because they don't actually know what it costs. It is a cost center. You don't get any value for it. It protects the lender in the event that you default. And 20% down is the minimum where you don't have to pay that because you have enough skin in the game that your risk is lower of defaulting on the loan, statistically speaking. So mortgage insurance on conventional loans you shop for. There's many mortgage insurance companies, and their pricing is dictated by your debt to income ratio and your credit score and the amount you're financing versus the price of the home. So it can be insanely cheap if you have good credit and low debt ratios. So sometimes people will come asking for me to show them 20% down because they've saved that much up, and it will cost every dollar they have, but they're ready to put 20% down if they need to. And so I'll show them what they ask for, but then I'll also show them a 10 and a 5% down option so they can compare and make sure that they really want to spend all that money, because the monthly payment difference may only be $200 a month, but your cash savings could be $40,000.
A lot. So as we sit here and record this on October 1st, you mentioned something about, they want to buy a house in 2026. In your opinion, how far in advance should people be talking to you before they really feel like they want or need to buy a home based on timing?
Yesterday, I'm a planner through and through. Hello. So I think it's really important to start having that conversation early for expectation setting, because it feels less scary to be increasing your payment if you know what that payment's going to be and you're planning for it. And then it feels less scary on the cash piece if you know how much it's going to cost you. And I feel like a lot of people put looking into their financing of a home on the back burner till they're ready to go because of the hard credit pull.
Yep.
People want to protect their
The
credit
fear
at all
of that.
costs. Yeah. And it's not scary. Credit is the most malleable thing. I play in it every day. I help people improve their credit scores, do rescores. Like, it is so easy to flex. But now we offer a soft credit pull for this exploration and pre-qualification process. So there's zero impact to credit to start looking today. So yes, as soon as you think you might be interested in a future purchase, that's when you should start putting your team together, start looking at numbers, and make sure that the budgeting all aligns, that the price of home you want to be able to shop for aligns with what you're comfortable paying and how much cash you have for that purchase. That wraps up our conversation today. It went so fast. It's always a pleasure talking with you, Troy.
Thank you,
Thanks for your time and your insights and your expertise. It's so great having people like you to partner with for our clients. And hopefully this brought you value. If you're planning a purchase either as a primary home or an investment property this year or next, we'd love to have a conversation with you and start putting resources together for you.